Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the new season of the Journal from the Center of the Creative Communications, broadcast to you live on the always intriguing internet, whatever that is. I'm your host, Jake Mednick.
And I'm Kaycee Zhao. Welcome to a special Remembrance Day edition of the Journal. We're really excited to have you here. Our team has been working very hard to make this the best journal that it can be.
Let's get started, shall we? On today's show, we're exploring skateboarding, alternative cinema, and the restoration of an old aircraft.
We also have a celebration of sound, but first we're off to exploring off-roading with our correspondent, Wayne Morales. Wayne had to dig in deep to get this story, so check it out.
Hi, I'm Wayne Morales here with the Journal of Centennial College. I'm here at the dual annual event called Sweet Peas Mud Bog, where trucks and people bring their trucks from all over Ontario, sometimes even Canada and some places in the United States. They all gather here. It's a dual annual event to test their trucks, push it to the limit, to see if they can get it through the mud bogs, as they like to call them here. And there's a lot of spectators here as well that come to watch this event, and it's really something to see. We're going to be following my brother Gary, who is a mechanic. He owns his own shop, G-Tech Auto, and his best friend Carl. They both brought their trucks. We're going to see how they do.
Hi, I'm Gary, and I own a shop here in Brampton, an auto mechanic shop. I specialize in Hondas and Acuras. I also lift trucks, 4x4 trucks, so if you want a truck that to be lifted to go into mud, I can do that.
My name's Carl. I'm a good friend of Gary's. I'm the dreamer of the off-roading, the one that plants the seed. What we do here is we lift trucks. We'll take your dream of making it through that pond that nobody else can make it through and make it happen. My father introduced me to off-roading when I was about 4 years old by taking me out off-roading, sitting me in the driver's seat and telling me to steer away from the bigger trees. From there, the seed was planted, and just like moss on a rock by open water, it grows. Around the age of 12, I got heavily into motocross, dirt bike racing. Due to injuries, I had to get out of it because making it past 30 was something I definitely wanted to do. Got into trucks, realized that, hey, being dry, having sound and heat was a much better way of getting muddy.
Just the being able to just drive the truck and not worry about, going through potholes and, like the truck do what you want it to do, You want to go over that big hill, go ahead, That was the cool part of it.
I remember when Gary first got into the 4x4ing, we took him to the first major hole, that a huge hill, and he looked at me and said, I'm not doing it. And I actually had to drive the truck up the hill. But I forced him to be a passenger, and I could see it. As soon as we made it halfway up that hill and he knew that he wasn't going to die, he was hooked.
I've never actually been inside a truck off-roading, so I thought I'd give it a try for myself.
What it's all about. There's two events here. There's a competition event where you go through a trench and you see if you can make it all the way through. Not only if you make it through, but also you get time. So best time gets trophies. I don't know if they get. I think they get some prize money as well. So I gotta go now. Give me a helmet. I gotta go now. 33.
You gotta go now.
I'm gonna push this thing till it has nothing else left in it. 1.6.
What do you think about the first few who have gone through and got stuck in the first?
Nobody's made it through?
Well, only one guy made it through, but he had a big truck.
Oh,
What about yours?
I've got a big truck.
You know what? The bigger the truck, the heavier the truck. It's all about the tires and the traction and the gearing. The gearing's huge. This gearing, you pretty much climb a wall with it. So that's how it is, man.
As confident as Gary portrayed to be, he was a little worried that his 4x4 would malfunction as it did earlier in the day. But he was determined to finish with a good time in the 33-inch and under tire class. Let's watch. Gary's time, 22.75 seconds. Good for 10th place.
Well, much like the casino, Gary and I both deal excitement. You know what? If you're not competing against somebody, you're competing against yourself. There's many times where me and the old Bronco have stepped up to a huge mud hole and everybody's telling me, don't do it. And right there, that's the competition.
It was Carl's turn to go into the pit for the 34-inch and over tire size class, meaning he has to drive into some seriously deep mud and show Gary how the big boys roll. Carl was looking good until he hit the wall of mud. As the time passed on, his chances of winning the grand prize were getting slimmer and slimmer by the second. It was a great effort as he almost got over that wall as the crowd gave a standing ovation. Carl did not get a time as he did not cross the pit. I asked a couple of spectators on their thoughts of the Orangeville Sweet Peas
You guys
mud
like
bog.
the mud bog?
Celebrating his birthday. He wanted to come to his birthday on the mud bog.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What do you like about it?
The mud.
That's it, the mud?
Some people like to street race, and I've done that way back in the day, and there's more excitement with this. There's just something about it. Not knowing what's underneath that water or what that next turn's going to be bringing you, or if you're going to make it over that log, and just pushing through, pedal to the metal, and getting her done.
Well, that concludes our day here. Madness here in the mud here at the Sweet Peas Annual Mud Bog. I'm Wayne Morales, and this is for the Journal.
Thanks, Wayne, for what, in my professional opinion, was quite clearly a story about trucks traveling directly through the mud. Next up on the Journal, we're exploring the celebration of sound at the recently held Nuit Blanche and a piece filmed by our resident musical expert, Tamas Powell. Enjoy.
Celebration of Sound was a musical event, a 12-hour musical event that was celebrating musicians making music in Toronto and celebrating the art of music and sound.
My name is Rory Shemesh. I'm a guitar player. I was involved in the Celebration of Sound. I just had my guitar set up with a bunch of effects. It was put together by Howard, basically kind of like his brainchild. Basically our directions were to, be in a room, just kind of like solitary, and then be mixed in with the other musicians in the room, and we wouldn't be able to see anybody, but we'd be able to hear everything. And usually when I do something like that, it's just basically like responding to what other people are doing, musicians, responding to sort of what's happening in the hallways and, with people.
My name is Jeremy Belaviti, and I teach here. I teach cello and guitar. And Howie asked for volunteers, so I did it. I was here teaching that day already, so it was convenient. It was challenging to play for that many hours. That was the hardest part. But overall, I think people liked it.
Nuit Blanche brings a diverse crowd out. It was huge. I can't remember what the stats were, but there were a lot of people out, and obviously you get a lot of different people.
It's an amalgamation of sound and light. It's insanely packed in there. You can't get in. But the beauty part is you can hear everything and you can see it from the outer corridors, so you get a little hint, a little taste of what the actual art is about. And that's the beauty of Nuit Blanche. When you get to go to the exhibits, you get to taste all of the culture and the essence and the being of everything that is Toronto.
This event in particular for Nuit Blanche was, I thought, was a huge success.
It's hard to, have an end point looking back on it. It's more like, okay, well now it's like bleeding into what's going to happen next.
As a musician, getting to take part in like a huge kind of event, I just thought it was a great success. The night was awesome.
Thanks, Tamas. And if you're interested in Nuit Blanche, check out their website at scotiabanknuitblanche.ca. There's a new alternative cinema theater open in Toronto, and because we're in broadcasting and film, we had to go check it out. We sent our resident friend, Adrian Patterson, to see what's going on. Adrian?
The city of Toronto is internationally known for its love of film. Most of the cinephiles in the city know of all the theaters, from the mainstream to the art house. But there's a new theater that is underground in this apartment building. Charlie Lawton, Alex Woodside, and Nigel Agnew started the Toronto Underground Cinema.
Background was basically I was just a film nerd that loved cinema and loved movies. Like, I'm trying to be a filmmaker. That's my main aspiration in life. After I moved to Toronto, I spent about 2 years looking for a job, and then was good friends with Alex and Nigel, who used to work at Bloor Cinema. In January of 2010, found out about this theater and said, well, why don't the three of us do that? We all need jobs. When I first heard about it, underground cinema in a basement in Chinatown, I was like, this is going to be a nightmare walking into it. And I walked in and it looked brand new. We painted the doors red, the snack bar black and red, and we got new lenses for the 35 projectors. The theater fits 706, Toronto's second largest single screen theater.
While the Toronto Underground Cinema is one of the newest theaters in the city, the space itself is far from it.
It was built back in the late 70s, early 80s when the condo around it was built, and it was run as the Golden Harvest Cinema, Golden Harvest, which is a Chinese production company. And it was run as that for about 4 or 5 years, and they only showed Golden Harvest movies, and it closed. Then in the 90s, 94, it was reopened as Golden Classics, and it was programmed by Colin Geddes, who programs Midnight Madness now for TIFF. And he ran it as kind of an Asian repertory cinema. They showed kung fu films, John Woo, that kind of stuff. And that ran for 9 months before it closed, and then it sat closed for 15 years until we opened it.
When the Toronto Underground Cinema opened in May 2010, unanimous praise has been said about the theater. It's the first genre-based theater in the city. The trio that owns the theater has even received praise from a high-profile critic.
Roger Ebert, like the world's greatest movie reviewer, not only knows about something I've done, but he praised it. Like, his tweet was really like a great tweet. It was saying there is hope for cinema and it's based in this theater, which was just kind of like, oh my god, how do you respond to that? To this day, we still don't know how he found out about us. Those first few weeks when we opened and got all that press are just a complete blur. It's been like overwhelmingly positive. Everyone who comes through here loves the space and says how much they enjoyed seeing movies here. It's been really surprising. Like, we haven't gotten hardly any negative feedback. It's not like when you go to see a movie at the multiplex, like everyone's out with their cell phones and texting away and talking to their friends. Here, when you see a movie, everyone's here just to see the movie. They're not here to kill time. They actually traveled to see the film. We like this theater as a place where you can come see something you can't see anywhere else.
The next stage for the cinema is to make the space something more than a theater, but a place where a community can unite.
I was walking by and I saw the sign. I came in and I asked them what this place was all about. The space itself, as you can see, is just amazing. Immediately my mind started going crazy. I started getting all these great ideas that we could do here, and I know the owners themselves are people who really want to break the mold. They really want to do something outside of the box and use the space for something that's new to Toronto, that's going to make it more exciting again. Queen and Spadina, the location right there, is probably the best location you can ask for. It's brilliantly positioned. Back to the fact that it was 10 years, it's been here for 10 years, I can't believe someone hasn't grabbed this space for that long.
While there are now busy men as film exhibitors, none of them, as Charlie Lawton states, has lost their love for the magic of film.
I'm just a kid who really loves movies, basically.
This is Adrian Patterson for The Journal.
A piece about the cinema done in a very cinematic fashion. Thanks, Michael Bay. Adrian Patterson. Michael Bay. Skateboarding. Even decades after its advent, it is still misunderstood. Skateboarders are often thought of as ruffians, hooligans who are out just to disturb the peace. Thankfully, we have Keaton Evans here to explore the misconceptions that people have about skateboarding and expose the reality of this very popular sport.
Hey, Keaton Evans here for The Journal. Today, we're going to be hanging out with Joel Scullard, one of the best skateboarders that Toronto has to offer, and follow him as he traverses some of the best terrain that Toronto has to offer for skateboarding. Let's go check it out.
My name's Joel Scullard, and I've been skateboarding for almost 10 years now.
Yeah, well, we're at one of my favorite places now. This is the
East York Skate Park. It's always good to skate, and then we're probably going to go over to the Hammer Skate Shop and good old Ashbridge's Skate Park.
Hey guys. We're at Hammer Skate Shop in the beaches, Queen and Winneba, 2 doors down from the subway.
Once we were at Hammer Skate Shop, Joel spoke to us about his views on the stereotypes associated with skateboarding.
Yeah, sometimes I think there is like a negative stereotype. It's just ignorance. To some extent, yeah, there is like guys that are dirtbags and like maybe do a lot of drugs or anything like that. But there's a lot of guys who like do drugs everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like a general like statement kind of thing. Like it doesn't really apply to just skateboarding. Just because I get like those dirty looks and it's like, what are you doing? Like you're skateboarding, like, or like old people like you can't play here. Yeah. It's like you'd go all out for a tennis court, but why wouldn't you go all out for a skate park? Doing the same thing. I'm just having fun and relaxing,
We left Hammer Skate Shop and continued on to Ashbridge's skateboard park to meet Joel's friends and speak to them.
Hey guys, we just got to Ashbridge's skate park. A couple people showed up. My buddy Trevor, my buddy Graham, so we're gonna skate.
Keaton Evans here for The Journal. We're going to speak to Dean and Lee about their opinions and views on skateboarding. What are some of the stereotypes, either negative or positive, that you've heard about skateboarders?
Negative stereotypes, I guess, would be with skateboarders is a lot of people associate skateboarders with drugs, loud music, graffiti.
So, have you guys had any personal experiences with skateboarding? Do you have any family members or friends maybe that ever skateboarded? Have you been able to maybe take a view into skateboarding through that?
As I was growing up, I BMX biked, so all of my friends were either bikers or skateboarders. I just found that when growing up that we didn't have enough areas like this to utilize and keep us from going out on the streets, from parks and other places that didn't want us there.
Well, actually, I know a number of kids who skateboard, and maybe that's why I don't have stereotypes, because I actually knew nice kids who skateboarded.
We're here actually working with our dogs because they're afraid of skateboarders, and everyone's nice enough to take care and lift their skateboard, come and help us out and work with the dogs and animals. And it's just amazing because you'd think, like you said, the stereotypes that come from them, they're a little more rigid, a little more hard. But they're sweethearts, they're nice people, they're just genuine, good people.
We're going to speak to Trevor and Graham, 2 skateboarders here at Ashbridge's Skate Park. So guys, what are some of the negative stereotypes you've heard associated with skateboarding?
That we're punks, we're bad, we do bad things, which is
Not sure.
How does this compare to the reality of skateboarding?
Skateboarders are pretty creative people. They like to do things their own way. They're just out there enjoying life and just doing what they love. They're doing what they love.
Would you guess that maybe this skate park, Ashbridges Bay Skate Park, has maybe had a positive influence on the community, positive or negative?
Yes, entirely so. I mean, it doesn't smell great down here, but the skateboarders don't really care because they get to see their buddies every day after school. They get to talk with people that they've never met before, and I don't know. It's great. It's great for the kids.
The big question here, guys, obviously is why do you skateboard if there's so many negative stereotypes associated with it?
Because it's unique. It's hard. It's challenging. Something new every day. Skateboarding has changed my life. It is a positive thing.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Our day with Joel was coming to an end, so finally, we stopped by one of Joel's favorite places to hang out.
Hey guys, we're here at the bait shop, and we're ending off the day, but thanks for talking to me and my friends about what we think skateboarding really is.
My day with Joel was very informative. I learned that as with any stereotypes, the ones associated with skateboarding are to be taken with a grain of salt. Thanks for watching. I'm Keaton Evans for The Journal.
Thanks, Keaton, for that city-spanning report. Finally, on today's show, Alex Smith goes to the Trenton Air Force Museum so that he can come back with information on the restoration of older aircrafts and the problems that they face at the museum. Exploring our aviation history, here's Alex.
The National Air Force Museum of Canada at CFB Trenton, home to a large collection of Canada's aviation and Air Force history. The years have caught up to some of the planes, such as the CP-107 Argus, once a sub-hunter during Cold War times, now withered by time and nested by birds. Or this rusted anti-aircraft piece. The museum is fighting to restore such pieces to their former glory. A restoration program has taken shape. I next talked to a volunteer who helped save the last Handley Page Halifax from a watery grave.
My name is John Dogger, and I started working here at the museum in 1998. During the war, I had seen some planes crashed, and other than that, I was not very interested in that until my retirement, when they asked for volunteers to restore, in this case, the Halifax.
But how long ago did this all begin?
In earnest, in 1996, I would say. We got the bits and pieces from Norway delivered in, I think, September, October 1995. There were 4 Hercules aircraft full of bits and pieces. And so we then had to first construct the workshop behind me. And then in 1996, as I said, we could start in earnest. This particular aircraft was used for a special operations executive in that it was top secret service and was meant and used for delivering goods to, in this case, the Norwegian resistant fighters. And as such, it delivered 13 containers and 2 boxes, I believe.
I then asked John how the average Canadian can get involved at the museum and how he felt the museum could garner more interest.
I would suggest to discuss that with the curator of the museum and see what is available and what that person can do. I would say to bring the musea in general to the more to the public by advertising and promoting what we have on display.
It's clear that the museum is doing its part to preserve a piece of Canadian history, but we the Canadian people need to help them. Restoring our past accomplishments can only lead to further successes for Canada. On this Remembrance Day, let us remember our Canadian veterans and the vehicles they used to fight tyranny and bring freedom to the world.
Thanks, Alex. That was the Trenton Air Force Museum. And now live on the show, we have Amateur, a talented musician playing his new single, Call Me. Amateur, please take it away.
You're an object. If I had to choose a telephone so I could call you, and swallow my pride to tell you tonight I'm trapped inside this machine. Now I know you. Now I know you'll call. Now I know you. Now I know you'll call. Now I know you. Now I know you'll call. Thank you.
Thank you, Amateur.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
I loved it. Check him out on YouTube. Well, we've reached the end of our show, and we hope that all of you viewing enjoyed our efforts. What did you think about the show, Jake?
Kaycee, I thought today's show was just fantastic, but I've got good news for everyone out there because we've got 5 more shows coming according to the teleprompter.
Stay tuned next week where, amongst other stories we're working on, we have the Student's Guide to Cooking, Fast Healthy Foods Under $10, Dawson's Medal, Volcom Stone, and Dodging Zombies at the Toronto Zombie Walk.
And be sure to check out our fantastic blog at www.thejournalccc.tumblr.com. For all that, I'm Jake Mednick.
And I'm Kaycee Zhao. Good night.
Good night.